Good day, everyone. I hope that you are doing well. You like my little chill vibe that I have going with the with the music tonight? A little bit of a different song, but I just thought that is so chill and so cool, right? So who am I? I am Kisa, Coach K, and just want to welcome you into our program tonight. You always know that I'm bringing you programming, shows which aim to just really encourage you, okay? Really encourage you on life's journey, whatever aspect or whatever area that involves. The whole purpose is encouragement, and that is something that we can all appreciate and we all need. So, 30-year broadcast communication veteran, maker of All Shea Naturals products, and also a life coach in this season. There's the information, keisasharp.com/life-coaching if you'd like to work with me, or just go to the site and check it out and get you some more information to see how we could work together, or just to have a little bit more information about what life coaching involves. Okay, so would love for you to check that site out and give me some feedback as well. Speaking of life coaching and just life in general, you know how we say life sometimes lifes. Not correct English, but I guarantee you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, part of my mission is to, again, encourage you. And one of the ways that I want to do that is to tap into the network of wonderful people that I am connected to. And here's what one of my good friends told me, and I know he told me in love, but he was absolutely truthful in what he said. He told me, as I misread something one time, he said, "You need to put on your glasses because you got that information wrong that I gave you. So, you know what? I'm going to put on my glasses, okay? And just tell you about our guest that we have here today. You will know her. You've heard of her because she is let me make sure I get it right, and she can correct this. She is a neo soul gospel singer, musician. I think of her too as a worship leader. That's when I was first introduced to her. She's an entrepreneur, and she may or may not want me to add this part, but you'll also know her in her role as a pastor's wife. She's still a newlywed. So I, again, tap into my network, and there's certain people I like the way they operate. I see how they're managing multiple roles, okay, how they're overcoming adversity. So listen, we want to avail that wisdom and information and that camaraderie to you. So I want you to join in for some good girlfriend conversation on today as we welcome Mrs. and I stress Mrs. Trinesha Bibbs. Hi, love. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I am great, beautiful, great, great, great. And I have to publicly give you your flowers and say thank you so much for your patience after events and time differences. She's on a different time frame. She's joining us from Georgia, or as Tyler Perry would say, okay, whoop, whoop, as Medea would say, Georgia. I can't say it exactly how he says Georgia, but so it's not necessarily Alabama. So she is crossing time zones and location and physical space to be able to join us to talk today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. So listen, part of this is, you know, we talk about a lot of things, but sometimes I like to hit things right on the head, Trinesha.
Okay.
And talk about some things, and we certainly won't stay here, but we've got to touch on it. I'm sorry, I'm working on some little buttons here as I work to try to turn the music down, but self-sabotaging behavior. So it is not just a thing for women. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please hear me when I say that. It is a people issue and how we self-sabotage. So just as a very general question, Trinesha, you know, whether you want to use personal examples or you can think of some other things in which you have witnessed in your friends, family, or otherwise, just what are some ways that you have seen or that you understand that we can self-sabotage, certainly as sisters, but as people as a whole?
Oh yeah, definitely. Right off the bat, procrastination.
Mm,
Being a perfectionist.
mm,
I know for me, being a perfectionist definitely is one of the things that you can self sabotage yourself. And I say that because when I was younger, just I could not sing. I had to teach myself how to sing, and just
mm,
really striving to be something great that I desired to be. And to be this like great singer, just being a perfectionist, it actually blocked me from getting to be in the place that I really want to be. And so perfectionist, perfectionism, if I can say it correctly,
mhm.
procrastination, devaluing yourself, um,
Ooh,
and to me that's one of the biggest things that we
mm,
all do, male and female.
mhm.
It's deep. It's I won't. It's devaluing, but it's also not knowing your value.
What?
So, uh,
Wow.
I can go, I can go in on that one, but not valuing yourself. And I mean, oh man, it's a couple of years back. I studied on identity,
Mhm.
and I know we probably wouldn't even go on this route, but
No, no, no. We are going as the spirit leads. Yes, ma'am.
it's
Go
coming
for it.
to me as I'm thinking about it, and
Mhm,
it was a thing that that goes along with self-sabotaging, because as we go from being, just teenagers, high school, and growing up, one of the biggest things that I did personally was, um, I've always asked God to show me
mm,
myself, and we're not always ready for that. And it goes along with identity, because it was like, God, I'm trying to figure out who I am. God, what is it that you have for me to do? What is it that you have for me to be? And it carried on through teenage years, and I was married before. It carried into the first marriage. It carried on after my divorce is when I discovered a whole lot about valuing myself as a single person, because at that point I was older. I got married when I was like 18, the very
mhm,
first time, and when I got divorced and I went through that single moment, it was all about finding who I am. And people don't realize it, that each and every chapter that we have in our growing in this life, is a journey, and God is always showing us. But if we are not open to ask God to show us ourselves, then how do we know? How can we correct things? How can we, value ourselves if we don't know? So identity to me plays a big part in that. And during that period of my life, just looking in the mirror, sometimes I would cry, because we look in the mirror a lot of times, but have we really looked at ourselves? I didn't even know I had freckles on my face. I was like, "What, girl?" And so, looking at myself in the mirror, I cried. Uh,
mm,
and what I began to do is speak godly affirmations and to myself. I am a child of God. I am beautiful.
mhm,
And so doing those things, and just being in prayer, it felt for me for identity. And
mm,
once you begin to know who you are and know how God created you, and know what your purpose is, then it come back around to this valuing yourself. So when you're able to know your value, then you won't devalue yourself. And sometimes you can. Yes, exactly. It's definitely the definition there. So um once you begin to come into the know-how of these things, then maybe you can correct your self-sabotaging. And that's just talking about self, not others.
mm.
I hope answers your question.
So here's the thing that you'll know about me and understand about me. You absolutely answered it as you were led to, and I believe. the example that you shared was real. You
Mhm.
understand, it was real, it was raw. And I just thought while you were talking, I said, let's look up the definition of devalue, which you referenced on the screen. Sorry about that. I'm
Yeah.
playing with buttons and sometimes I hit the wrong one. But the reduction or underestimation of the worth or importance of something. And
Mm,
in this case that you're talking about, that thing, oh God, is self,
yeah.
you know? So yeah, I wanted you to go there. That's good because guess what, Trinesha?
Mhm.
We all conduct ourselves as being so strong and impenetrable and having this wall up.
Yes,
Every person in private has a struggle.
exactly.
Some, and this big one for African American women
Mhm.
and men,
Mhm.
especially in this culture, in this day and time,
Yeah.
devaluation and understanding your value is so huge.
Yes, it is.
So I thought that was so good because I want you to go back and I want you to touch on too. I'm going to bring you up close so we can hear you on that. We're zooming in
Okay.
on this, zooming in on this point.
Mhm.
You touched on something. I know you're comfortable with it because we talked about it before, but you talked about being married once and
Mhm.
spending that time alone. So
Mhm.
speak to the women who are in a relationship who have gone through a recent breakup or divorce. I'm in that category. Have gone through a recent divorce. Maybe I'm a little bit different. I don't feel sad. I don't feel bad about it. I'm at peace. But some ladies are not. Some ladies aren't
Mhm.
handling breakups or either soon to come breakups that they
Mhm.
know they're going to have to cut it off.
Mhm.
Encourage them because you had another chance to find love again.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as you were saying it, the very first thing is it goes back to identity because once again, now some people may have been in a relationship or is in a relationship and they at maybe the age of 30 or 40. But in my book it's really not about age. It's about how well and how often do you seek God? Because that question that even that I've asked at the age of 12, God, who am I? God, like explain to me, because the Bible says that he knows every hair on our head. So it's like he knows us. So even in my marriage, my first marriage, it was still a seeking. It was still a seeking. And I say this, I wasn't sad either when I got divorced. And I say that because in that process of prayer, seeking, because when you're married, and as a Christian young woman, I used to ask God to help him,
Mhm,
like help
mhm,
him. Like I don't understand him. What is this and this? And so I began to turn my prayers from him to me. And I said, well, God, what is it that I'm not doing? What is it that's not right with me? So God began to speak to me and he began to show me things, show me like what things or how things supposed to be. And by him doing that, I feel like I went through a transformation even during my marriage, to where, some people say, oh, we grew apart. But that's because one of the people, the male or the female, decided to really seek, whether they wasn't seeking God, but they began to seek better, not better person that I'm with, but just I want a better life. Because who knows what they truly want to do when they coming out of high school. Yes, I wanted to sing. Yes, I wanted to do this. No, I didn't even want kids, but God has a way of doing things and he has a reason. So whatever situation that you're in, and if you're going through a transition where you're being divorced or you're being separated from somebody you thought was the love of your life, God has a greater plan and you just don't know what it is yet. So my advice would be to go to God, because he knows all and he sees all, and to ask him, okay, God, what is it that you're doing in my life right now? I so thought, and the key word is I so thought that this was the right person.
Mm.
And see, but until you single yourself, and I believe the scripture that really helped me in that time was that the Bible says, oh God, you could probably help me with the scripture, Keish, because the scripture said that it was better to be alone anyway, because you can commit that time more so with God. But it
Mm.
also says that, get married, it's better to, get married versus, not to burn. And burn mean to have sex, outside of marriage. So my thoughts was like, okay, God, I'm a Christian woman anyway. It's like, I really want to commit everything to you, and it's like, in the midst of me seeking myself, God, and now that I know, God, help me. And
Mm.
so, anyway, after the divorce and everything like that, I was able to do those things and kind of lean on into what God wanted me to do. And that was to commit, because He is a jealous God. And so He became my man in a sense.
Say that. Say that.
He became my man. And just in the process, and y'all don't get me wrong, it's not going to happen overnight. And like I said, I had been praying since I was 12 years old to God to help me, to show me, and it's still a process. You're continuously asking God to help me in this part of my life. What season am I in? Who is
Mm.
there for me to help? So um uh to go back to what you were saying, just to be encouraged. I mean, if you know who you are, you will know that who you were with wasn't the person that God created you to be with, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yes.
So,
I
and
was
when you focus, oh, one more thing, and when you focus on yourself, and that's what I did. When you focus on yourself and learning yourself, finding yourself, then God will send you that person.
that's
He'll send
good.
you the right person.
I was thinking about when you said the scripture, now to the matters, and this was Paul. Paul,
Mhm.
kind of gave us this idea that I wish everyone could have the gift that I had, which is to be single. Because when you're single, you care for the things of the Lord. But rather than be single, if you are burning with sexual temptation, et cetera, or those sort of temptations, it's better to marry.
Yeah,
And if you're going to marry, let every man have his own wife,
yeah,
and let every man have his own. No, sorry, every man have his own wife, and every woman have her own husband. So in 1 Corinthians 7, starting at verse 1, now for the matters you wrote about, it's good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But since
yeah,
sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife. This is not the King James translation, because the King James translation basically says, "Let every man have his own wife and every woman have her own husband." But
yeah,
nonetheless, you get what they're saying. The husband should fulfill his marital duty, likewise the wife to the husband.
yeah,
Talks about um, all the duties and don't depriving each other. But then you come over here in verse 8, and it says, "Now to the unmarried," and here's where the little cursor is right here. I say it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I do. But if
mm,
they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion, which is exactly what you referenced.
yeah, and
So
yeah.
go ahead,
Go.
I'm listening.
I was just gonna say, and when I used to read that, I was like, "Oh my God, I got married for the wrong reason."
Mm,
And to be honest and transparent, yes, it was because of sex.
yeah,
It was like, oh God, I'm a Christian. I don't want to, um, I don't want to be out of your will when I have sex.
yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. So yeah, and I guess what made me not so sad when I divorced is because I know that it wasn't God, it was my choice. It was
That's
my
so
choice.
good.
It wasn't God saying, "Hey, this is your man. This is who I created for you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, this is good because we're going to stay right at this point, and let me help some other sisters out, because let me tell you, Trinesha, you're not alone. And I have seen, I wonder if that influenced me, and I think it could have influenced me, especially for my first marriage I didn't do that, but second marriage it was the time frame was sped up a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I think sometimes when you're trying to glorify God, when you're trying to and you're living, you don't want to be out of the out of his will,
Yeah.
especially not in that arena of being intimate with your partner. So it seems the easy choice is, and ladies, this is being real and raw, because on this platform and format and on this broadcast, the whole point is, if you don't have to go down that road, if someone is saying this doesn't work, I've tried it, then you know you don't have to go down the same road and experience the same result. Because
Right.
whether you think that you can pray yourself out of it, I'm here to tell you you can't. She's got an example where she said, God, I got married for the wrong reasons. And you go ahead and do it. It doesn't work out years later. I have an example. You know that you didn't put the time into it. You're rushing because you don't want to dishonor God in that arena, in that intimacy arena. You want to do it right, and you get married and you think, whew, off the hook with that. But then when you get the flesh taken care of, and after you've, done what you can there, then real life starts to set in.
Yes.
Is am I not am I on the
Well,
path,
you're right
Trinisha?
on it. You're right on it. You're right on it because because as you like you said, once the flesh and everything is gone, it's you realize, oh my God.
I like the way you're looking to the
It's
side.
like, oh my God, like what is going on? And like you said, I mean, you hit it. You hit it. It was nothing that you can. I mean, you can pray and pray, and like I said, I prayed for him to be this, and that, and I prayed that God would show him some stuff. But when it's not meant to be, it's
Ooh,
just not meant to be.
ooh, and
And not to like discredit or anything. I love my children. I love the experience, and but it's when it's not, when it just not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So
and you can and all and prayer will not replace preparation.
mm-mm,
And what do I mean when I say that? The time that it took to step back, the time it would take, and this is just coming to me. This may very well be something that's helping a young lady out there now who feels like she needs to rush the process, or is
mm-hmm,
having the process rushed because a young man is pressing on her, and she's like, well, I can't do it and dishonor God, so we're going to just go ahead and get married. We'll figure out the rest. You can have that attitude if you want. I've been there, done that. And prayer doesn't replace planning. Prayer doesn't replace preparation. In other words, when you get in it, because you didn't take the time to plan, you didn't take the time to listen, to look at the signs, you didn't take the time to work through it, and then you get in the back and say, I'm going to pray. Now, are there exceptions? Yes.
mm,
Some couples make it through that. Yes.
yes,
But can you believe for that? Maybe. It depends on your prayer life. I can't speak specifically to a situation, but again, what is your tolerance to go through and be patient? How long do you wait? All of these things are, and Trinisha, as part of that, because I want to go down this road of making a decision and just thinking, well, God will bless it later. It'll be fine. I'll pray through it. We'll just work through it. Um, you know,
yeah.
what are some things that you experience when you do that and you don't go ahead and wait? You think, oh, we'll just get in and I'll pray. I have a relationship with God.
Mm.
There are consequences.
It is. It is. A lot of nights crying, a lot of nights
Yes,
being unhappy.
yes.
Um, it may have started off seeming to be romantic, seeming to feel like like you were in love and you're out of love. And a lot of people say you're supposed to work through it, then there, and you try to, you have conversations, but definitely a lot of unhappiness, and your spouse becomes your roommate.
Come on, girlfriend.
And then after your children get old enough to where you're not putting all your attention on your children to kind of hide the other hurt or the other things when they're
The
older.
lack, the
Yeah,
lack.
yeah.
Mhm.
When they're older, it's like, okay, what now? Because now they're going their own little ways. Everybody doing their own thing, and it's like I don't know. Like I said, you feel alone. You feel alone in the marriage. Those are the things, and it's like, and I would say to a lot of women that always say, oh man, I want to get married, I want this man, I want this, or I want what she have. And it's like, you can never know what a person goes through behind the doors, and church folks are good with faking their smiles in public.
Yeah,
So you can never know what a person is going through. I mean, it looks great. Even nowadays with social media, it looks great. And I'm not speaking for I love my husband. My husband is definitely sent from God. Oh my God,
yes,
he
yes.
just he's a wonderful person. He makes me laugh when I'm sad. I mean, just so many things that I used to write in my book. The things that I desire in
Mm,
a man when I used to I don't want to put down my past, but I used
yeah.
to write down things because as I grew and as I began to ask God things to do and what it is and what it is that I truly like in a man, or I would write these things down. I would
Yeah.
even write down the things I don't want them to be. And so moving forward, and I know I'm kind of veered off of your things, but yeah,
Uh-uh. No,
it's
no.
hurting
No.
all of that good stuff that you have to deal with when you
Yeah.
the consequences of that. And the ending result for me was being alone. Um, but yeah, just being alone, and you're not alone. It's like you're in the house with the family, but you really felt alone. So
I don't know if there's a greater hurt. I don't know if there's a more impactful hurt than not being alone, but really being alone.
yeah.
And some people are desiring to be in a relationship, and they even have identified a person. It'd be so cool. And ladies, if I can say anything about it, I will co-sign with everything that she said. Being alone, the nights of crying, and being a roommate,
Mhm.
just paying bills, not having a partner, but literally having a roommate. And you're doing these things not to focus on it, but at the end of the day, you come back to the same thing. So you can go through and romanticize it, and you can keep going. But if you're in the throes of consideration, and if you know it's a rush job, or if you still see some red flags even after time,
Mhm.
you need to pause. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say that. I'm not saying not get married, but pause and really think and really ask the Lord, and not and or and your trusted circle.
Mhm. Mhm.
So let's come through the other side of that, because we've talked about that self-sabotaging behavior. What do you believe? We're going to bring them on through to redemption, sis.
Okay.
We're going to pull them up out of the pull them up out of the wrong, making the wrong turn, and put them on the
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
road.
Yeah.
What do you believe helped in making a better turn the second time around? What did you do? How did you come to be at this place?
Knowing what I want, what I don't want, um, and because of, like they say, is purpose in the pain. When you go through something, it's like you know what you want and you know what you don't want. So, um, I'm trying to think of the right words.
I hear
um,
you. I'm going with you.
yeah, I mean, you just you know what you want, and when you can. One thing that I was very, very, very quiet. I didn't like to argue, and going into where I am now, I speak my voice, but not to be um what they would say, not in the I'm the boss type of,
Dis
dude.
disrespectful tone.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
just not being
disrespectful.
disrespectful, but to speak my voice and speak what I don't want it. I mean, you, like you said, it's red flags. It's always red flags in the beginning. So if you can address those things, and I will say this, we all have triggers, and triggers are just traumas.
Whew.
So anything that you've been through in your past, definitely don't carry it on to your next. But when you can identify that you have a trigger because of something that happened to you before, and you share that with the next person, if they are understanding and willing to understand your situation, then they will meet you and actually help you with
Whew.
your triggers. And when you recognize your triggers, then you can correct your own triggers. But you have to be mindful not to carry it into the next relationship.
How serious is the part about triggers and trauma? You wouldn't have any idea of a secondary interview that I've done with some of my other female girlfriends, good girlfriends.
Hmm.
Those two words came up in that conversation.
Very important.
Understanding your triggers and your trauma.
Yeah. It's just like all women have mood swings. Whether you have a menopause, you have
Mhm,
your menstrual cycle once a month,
mhm,
we
mhm.
have a period where we have these moods, and sometimes we're not aware of the way we're acting unless somebody say, hey, you acting like a diva, you need to go
Yeah.
cool off something, so I feel like the triggers for me, triggers were like that. I didn't realize that they were triggers until my spouse was like, hey, I didn't know.
Hmm.
But when I mentioned to him the situation of why it's a trigger, then he was a little bit more understanding. Not that he has to suffer because I've dealt with it, but it also gives him an understanding to say, oh my God, next time I'll be a little bit, I'll change the way I come to you on that. And then for me on my part, it's like, man, I didn't realize that was a trigger for me. But now I know, and now I can correct it myself. And if we can do that, then I mean triggers, and I mean it's very important. I mean it really is, but sometimes we don't realize it's a trigger because we mouth off, we go off. Oh, you ain't gonna treat me like this.
You ain't gonna talk to me like that.
You ain't gonna talk to me like this. But the minute
Ah,
you know why, he don't know what he did.
yeah.
But it's a trigger. It's a trigger
Yes.
because this has happened and this is what it made you feel in your past. And so that same feeling has come over you in that situation in that moment, but he don't have a clue of why you just reacted the way you did. So when you can catch it and fix it, and then also be able to be vulnerable enough to share it with the next person, then you can fix it right then and there. And if not, if he's not understanding and he keeps doing it, you need some time alone. You need self time, and you need to go correct and fix all of those things. You got to come at peace with your triggers and your traumas, because if not, you're going to carry it on to the next. And it goes back to self sabotaging.
Okay, so let me ask a question about that part real quick.
Hmm.
So what I heard in all of that is there are two things. Marriage and relationships are team sports. They're not individual. You can't singly make it happen. You can't singly will that the relationship is going to work. You need a partner. So because when you get into the triggers and trauma, men have them as well. Now we're a little women seem to be more aware and attuned to their triggers and trauma.
Hmm.
Maybe sometimes guys are, but maybe sometimes they aren't. But I want to touch on this, and I want you to help women understand. So once you as a woman, you need to, ladies, acknowledge, let me pull us up close. You need to acknowledge that you have triggers and trauma as well. That's part
Yes.
of humility. That's part of wanting to make this relationship work. Not acknowledging your issue, not acknowledging that you have that, you're setting yourself up, number one. And yeah, you can continue to ignore, but when you notice that people ignore you, don't want to be around you, or you're
Yeah.
going to be alone. Sometimes people say, well, I don't need anyone. No, that's trauma too. I don't need anyone. No,
Yeah.
that's trauma too. You haven't dealt with it effectively. So you mentioned something. You acknowledge it, but if the person keeps triggering you, help us walk that through, because don't you believe, if you, as my partner, if I say this triggers me, should you be more mindful of it? Or is it a case where you, as the woman, should say, okay, Lord, you're going to have to heal me of this, so I don't, keep getting triggered by it? Or is it prayerfully the work, I think, best case scenario, of two people? He's understanding of it and you are working on it simultaneously. Does that make sense?
It does. It does a lot. You have to do both, actually. You have to ask God to heal you. Definitely. Daily. And it's still some, and it's even the tone sometime for me. I'm from Detroit, so I can my husband say I get gangster.
Gangster.
And I don't realize it. Nah. I'm in my 40s, mid 40s, and I'm like, sometimes it still come out.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, you have to ask for healing in that, and ask God to help you catch it before you open your mouth. And
Mm.
on the other side, the man also, or the spouse, or whoever it is, has to also have to, they have to be in prayer too, because it's almost, it, to me, what it is, and I speak for like a trigger for the man, and you being the woman on the other side. If you're triggering him and he's told you that you are, you got to now pray that God will help you to either say it in a nicely way, change it. It's, you're not changed, because you can feel that you're changing yourself, and you're not changing who you are, but it's just changing, or being mindful of what you're saying, because you know that that triggers that person. You have to be mindful of how you say it, um, or what you're saying, that's triggering them, and it goes both ways, because that person needs to be healed, and that other person has to be mindful that that is a trigger. So let me change the way I approach that. So
I
it
like
goes
that.
both ways. It goes both ways.
I
It's
like
a
that.
process on both sides, if
I
the
like
other person is willing to do that. Sometimes it may not work out that way, and if it's a bunch of triggers, that person needs, they need to separate. And like I said, it goes back to finding yourself, because you have to find peace in that.
That's good. And for those of you, when you get, and ladies, please understand, and maybe even to my guys too, this is a little bit more nuanced, and that's why I think it's and it takes on a different tone when you are married as opposed to being in a relationship. When you're in a relationship, even if it's serious or engagement, you can always
Mhm.
hit the pause
Mhm.
button. We
Yeah.
still have a shot at you. When you're
Yeah.
married, not that you can't get divorced, but I just believe, me personally, now this is just Keisha, you do what you want to do. Um, as you listen to this, you have free will, but for me personally, I don't want to be willy nilly and, okay, you did that and you won't stop. It's time for a divorce.
Oh, no. No, no, no.
You have to be
You need
more
to nip that
thoughtful.
in the beginning. That's why they have counseling. That's
Thank
why
you.
they have counseling. My husband and I actually does do, marriage counseling here and there. But you have to get that counseling before marriage. And some people just go jump and get married, and don't get the counseling. But the counseling should take you through a series of questions, to each other, writing down things, because you think you know a person, but you don't. But that's what counseling is there for before marriage, is to try to knock out those things. And some things you won't catch. Some things happen over time. People change in 10 years. But
Mhm.
you have to be willing, you know, to be open, but that
Mhm.
counseling is very, very, very important. I know that because I've been married before, and to go into another marriage, it's like, hey, I need to know this about you. I need to know your credit score. I need to know this. I need to know that. It's
Yeah.
things to ask for yourself, but counseling is, to me, is very important.
What about the lady or man who refuses counseling, who says, we don't need that? We good. My parents were married and didn't have counseling.
They need to go ask mama and daddy the secrets of their marriage, because mama went through something to stay there. And just say that. Mama stayed there. Daddy was cheating and mama still was sitting there because that's just how she was raised back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
she went through a lot of pain and hurt, and we've already touched on that. I mean, they stayed together. They did what they had to do, but it was a lot of pain in there. It was a lot of disconnect, and they did what they did. And it's not that they loved each other. They probably won't even love each other no more. I mean, who knows? But I
Mm.
feel like it's a lot of pain in there, and people stay together. They just stay together. I mean, some people should say, "Hey, we're just best friends. We good with friends, but we may not be lovers anymore. But we gonna stay together."
We're gonna keep everything. We're not gonna upset the apple cart, whether we're in love or whether and I understand you have to be careful with love, the word love, because you may feel love for your spouse, you may not feel, but
Yep.
covenant transcends your feelings.
Yep.
You understand? You
Yep.
can fall in and out of love. I mean, you can't be moved by your feelings, but boy, this has been so good, so rich. I really believe that this is something to give people a to-do list and
Yeah.
to get out of self-sabotage and
Mhm.
undergirding in all of this as I get ready to kind of round it out,
Mhm.
is I hear the word honesty, Trinesha. The honesty on both sides, the honesty and the humility to be able to say, yeah, I don't know everything about this person, and I would benefit from outside counsel, outside wise
Why?
counsel.
Yes. Yes.
And number two, the humility to ask for help and it just not be you and him. Y'all just making a decision on your own. Nobody else is inside that bubble. You understand? Bring people in. I implore you.
Yes.
I beseech you.
Yes.
Bring people in. I don't care how close you are to the wedding date. I don't care how close you are or right. It could be days right after you've announced your engagement. I
Mhm.
believe that Phoenicia has given you some sound counsel
Yes.
on counseling and on allowing other people in before you
Before.
say, I do. Closing words, closing thoughts to encourage whatever's on your heart.
Well, I really agree with everything you just said. I definitely just encourage people to find themselves, get to know you, so that you will know you before you get to know somebody else. And that's just, to me, it's just very, 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 very important. You got to know yourself. You got to know what you love. You got to be able to have a value, bring a value to the relationship. And that person that's coming to you has to bring value. They need to add to you. But in
Mm,
order for them to add to you, you have to know your value. So I just say, know yourself, and find somebody that will uh, enhance you, add to you,
that's good. And
definitely support you.
definitely support. That's so good because we had another guest on as well, and he talked about that. Actually, another two get to know, and they kept saying, and these were two guys, Tranisha.
Mm.
They were saying you need to get to know you. How do you tick? What do you like? What don't you like? What works for you? I can and just in full transparency, this may seem significant or may not seem very significant to many people. It's significant for me. Um, do I want to say this? How can I say this? I just think I'll leave it with what you said, knowing yourself and knowing what you like. And what Kisa at 52 likes is vastly different than what the Kisa of 32 or 42 liked. And I'll even go as far as to say even needs. I need something different at 52, and it's not just a good feel.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be it's got to be deeper. I know and understand my relationship with God, and it's just got to be deeper. And I'll leave it there because I don't want to say too much, Tanisha, because what I find is that, in the world of social media,
Yeah.
a woman can share. There was this incident where a lady shared all the things she liked, and this guy presented all the things she liked, and he
Mm.
was a complete bust.
Mm.
But on social media, we get on, oh, I need a man who does this. I need a man who does that. I need a man who does this, who this. Yeah, and as people know how to present or even say the right thing, so you have to be oh so careful.
Yes,
So I have a very private prayer to God about me knowing there will be one, not one, there'll be several things, but one thing in particular that I
you.
recognize that I will know that this gentleman will possess. I'm not sharing that with, that's that secret thing that I'm sharing with the Lord and that I'm looking for. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes me smile because that's what I did. And
Oh,
and when I tell you, um, time after time, my husband does things, and I was like, nobody knew that's what I like with God. And there's a lot of times I just look at him and be like, I love you so much. Like
oh,
you don't understand. Those are things that I prayed about. And it's the things that I'm talking about in secret that you pray about and write down.
yeah,
You can't explain it to somebody to do. They have to naturally do it.
yeah,
And it's like it blows my mind.
yeah. Because we don't know everything that we need, and sometimes there are things that don't even need to be verbalized because um I've had the lists with both, marriages. I've had the list, and people can check every point on the list and still not be, oh, that's a point. Ouch. They can check everything on the list and still not be the one,
Yes.
or still not have the aptitude to be able to go further with you and move on
Mhm.
with you in life and in
Mhm.
purpose.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
Yep.
you know how Mary talked about how the Bible says that Mary was chosen to carry Jesus. And as she watched him grow up in wisdom and stature and everything, the Bible talks about how she pondered things in her heart. I'm paraphrasing, but she didn't
Mhm.
go talk about. She would watch that baby boy. She watched the baby she bore in a
Yeah.
supernatural manner, and she pondered these things in her heart as she was watching him, as the Lord was showing her who he is and what he was doing, etc. I'm
Mhm,
paraphrasing.
mhm.
She didn't open her mouth. I'm at that point right now.
Yeah.
I'm watching some stuff. I'm not going. She didn't go to Jesus and say, "The Lord told me you were going to do that." Nah,
Right.
she just looked at him. She just looked at him and said, "Okay, God, I'm gonna
Mhm.
pray. I'm gonna pray about it with this my baby boy, and I'm gonna just keep my mouth shut." And that may be a little bit of a different example, but the moral of the story being
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna ponder some things about and look at that gentleman. I'm not telling him what I need him to do. It'll
Exactly.
come a point. It'll come a point where you have that communication. I'm not telling him what I need him to do at first. You're not going to just be a robot for what Kisa says, and you get into the marriage, and it's like Jack. What do you call it? Jack in the box. You jump out, and you're like,
Mhm,
this is
mhm, mhm.
this
Right,
the real me. I was just playing.
right.
You said it, so I was just giving you what I thought you wanted. This is the real me. No, I don't need that. But
No.
I digress. So I want you to tell people how they contact you. I have a link in
Yeah.
which people, yes, go ahead.
Yes, the link tree will take you to pretty much everything. I have a couple of songs out there I've done over the years.
Mhm.
I love, love, love to worship, and you're right on. I love to worship before I do the neo soul Christian. So um, um, music, but yes, Trinesha sings on Instagram, Facebook. You can just look me up there. You can Google my name. Back then, it was Trinesha Christian, Trinesha Songbird, and you can actually Google me and you'll see me. But I'm on all digital outlets as far as music, and the link tree there will take you to any coaching or any. I do women's brunches, and I have vocal coach that I do. So yeah, I'm on YouTube. Trinesha sings. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can just find me there, and I am here.
I sure hate that I didn't get a chance to come to some of your brunches when you had them. I'm like, dang it, my schedule kind of gets ahead, and you just have to respect where you are.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Sometimes I want to support, and I think, Lord, it's only one of me, because in these entrepreneurial streets, it's real out
It's real, real. Oh yeah,
real.
yeah. Yeah, I'm planning. I've been in prayer. I am planning to have the last one for the fourth quarter,
Okay.
because we're supposed to close it out. It's just like you said, it's a matter of time, and then I moved to Georgia. So yeah, I'm trying to work it out. So I'll keep you posted.
That sounds wonderful. And I mean, I just, and y'all, I'm very sincere about people. When we saw each other, Tranisha and I saw each other, we were at a mutual friends event because we've been connected via Facebook for a while. And
Yeah,
I like her. She's just very, your personality is very like, what's the word? Consistent, you
yeah,
know, and like calming. Now again, you know, getting to know you, it might be a little bit different because I'm like that. And then I definitely have my business arm as well. But I just, I love to have good girlfriend
yeah.
conversation. And
Me too.
I just felt that you just impressed that you're the person to have it. And now that I have this conversation with you, I see why. And it won't be the last time. And as long as Kisa can get in her head that you are on Eastern Standard Time, I think you and I will be okay as we move forward. Okay.
Yes, me and you both. I've been working on it myself.
Transition and move. So congratulations to you. You know I appreciate you, and know I am for you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you for this time too. Thank you.
You're
It's an honor.
welcome. You're welcome. Have a good rest of the day. I know you've spent better part of an hour with me, so enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
All right. Thank you. Bye
All right,
bye.
dear. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Hey, that was Trinesha Bibbs. OMG. OMG. Love her. Have the link down at the bottom. You can see Linktree/Trinesha to go and find out all of the wonderful things that she's doing. Let me see if I still have my screen up, which has her website again. Yep, it's still there. So you can find out about her singing, her brunch. There's her Cash App. You want to support her in ministry. But there is the link that's running across the bottom of the screen. Everyone, have a super fantastic day. And I thank you so much for joining me. And I pray that you are encouraged, women and even men, in understanding how to deal with us as women. So, hey, sis, let's stop the self sabotage and you go on to success. The past is the past. What you have right now is the present, but you certainly can make better decisions to impact and to have a better future. I'm Kisa. I'm Coach K. You all make it a great day. And thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you soon.